Personally, I've got the Nashville Predators, and I think that these two teams they're similar in some ways. They've got the stud defenseman and the stud goaltender, but I have to give the edge to Nashville a little bit. Just looking at that with Roman Josi and Juuse Saros versus Morrissey and Hellebuyck, and really it comes down to the two defensemen. Morrissey had a ridiculous outlier season last year. Can he keep up that same production? We'll have to see. Although I will say about Nashville, that forward group up front, there's a lot more question marks with that forward group. I mean, it's looking like Ryan O'Reilly is going to be their first line center, and he's getting older and still a very good player, but the offense is declining a little bit. But I just look at a lot of their young players who really surprised us and played really well for them in the second half of the season, and this team almost squeaked into the playoffs. So I like the Predators to be able to carry over that momentum with the Novaks and the Evangelistas and the Tomasinos of the world, and the list goes on. I just think that they'll be able to carry over that momentum. There will be a lot of emphasis on the offensive side of the game with Andrew Burnett. I think it'll be a fun team to watch, and when you have guys like Josi and Saros and net, you always have a chance. So I'm giving the edge to Nashville a little bit in that 4 spot. What do you guys think?
I think that this shocked me. This absolutely shocked me because I don't even have them in the 5 spot. I think so poorly of this team, I guess you could say. Quickly, I want to touch on Josh Morrissey. I don't think he's going to be the guy he was last year, because even the last quarter of that season, I think he kind of regressed back to what we can expect from Josh Morrissey, which is still a number 1 defenseman on a team. But to get to Nashville, I'll start from the net out instead of going the other way, because obviously you guys know I love Saros. I think he's maybe the second best goalie in the league. So I could even think of giving him the edge over a Hellebuyck if you really force me to. I'd be fine with that. So obviously I like the goaltending on this team. Again, just like Minnesota, no shocker, Nashville has a good D-core. It's been that way, forever, as long as I can remember. I really like the way that their D is set up, in that it's like one guy who can move the puck well and one guy who smashes bodies. And it's pretty simple. Peanut butter and jelly.
It's
all
so
the way
true.
Like 1, 2, 3. You got Josi and Shen. You got McDonough and Barry. You got Fabro and Carrier. Like, it's fantastic how they have it set up. I love the decor. The forwards, I don't understand who is going to score goals on this team. Last year, their leading scorer was Roman Josi with 59 points. Obviously, there's some injuries. Forsberg was out for a while. He had played 50 games. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't know who's going to score. Harper, I want you to tell me their first 2 lines. How are their first 2 lines going to be set up?
Well, and again, it's going to be interesting, but I mean, it's got to be O'Reilly, Forsberg. Then who would that other winger be? Tomasino, maybe? So
that's a problem right there. The fact that you couldn't name another first line forward on this team, but continue. Sorry for interrupting. Who's the second line?
No, that's okay. And then Cody Glass would be your second line center. He did take a nice step last year and almost was a 40-point player. But and then you've got, Tommy Novak could be in that top 6. Gustav Nyquist as well.
Okay, so you named one second line player, in my opinion, in Thomas Novak. So I like the Cody Glass outlook that he's going to take another step, but the fact that you said he was almost a 40-point player and then said he was your 2C on this team, that's the problem for me. This forward core is not good, and I just don't know who's going to score goals, and it's just bleak if I put it plainly. So I definitely think this team is good if you stop at the defense. Like that's where I'm at with them.
Do you know what the forward core reminds me of? It reminds me of a worse version of the Dallas Stars, because when I look at Nashville's forward group, it's a bunch of has-beens, guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist. Compare those two players to, say, a Ben and Sagan, who are both better than those two players, but here's where their comparison comes in, mixed with a bunch of young players who we don't really know exactly how they're going to pan out. Guys like Cody Glass, Evangelista, Tomasino, etc. And then you can compare that to Dallas with guys like, Wyatt Johnston and J-Rob, who is a young player but is incredible. So I see the comparison there in terms of makeup, but obviously Dallas's is just way better and Nashville's is just not very good. So I'm with you, Case. Like, I don't know who's going to score on this team, because if it's not Roman Josi, it's going to be tough. But that being said, I think their decor and goaltending is good enough, and the fact that last year they had 92 points with a similar makeup up front, I think that alone, all of that considered, is good enough to get them into my number 5 spot. So although Harper had them at number 4, I think we have to go Winnipeg there, then Nashville at number 5. And so now I think we move on to talk about number 6, even though, Case, I know you didn't believe in Nashville at all at number 5.
Dude, you could have convinced me that they'd be 7. Like, I was waiting for someone to convince me of that. So, yeah, if we got to make a consensus here, I'm fine with it, but I want to be on record in saying that I don't think that this team is good. I'll take Wyatt Johnson over every player on this team, except maybe Forsberg. That's where I'm at. And Wyatt Johnson's like the 6th or 5th best forward on Dallas.
Yeah.
Well,
so the comparison was for the makeup, and
I hear you. I was just thinking of the best team in this division versus this team. Like, that's
right.
That's how I see it. I think the decor is great. I just want to reiterate that. Love it. And I think the goalie is the second best in the league, but they're not going to win games 1-0. It's just not going to happen in today's NHL. So we'll see.
Yeah. Also, to go against my position a little bit, looking at the decor, outside of Josi, they have some good players, of course. Like Schenn complements an offensive defenseman on that top pair well. He did that with Morgan Rielly in the playoffs last year, so that's fine. McDonough and Barrie, both guys who might be a little bit past their prime, and then Fabro and Carrier is whatever. So like, the decor is good, and I wrote that in my notes. It's good, not great. I like the makeup, but again, it's just not top tier. I do still think though that they're gonna be in that playoff bubble tier that I have 3 teams in, and I would be willing to swap, but just given the fact that Harp had them at number 4, I think it makes sense for our consensus rankings.
Okay, cool. And just a final thing, I mean, the leading scorer on this team has to be Philip Forsberg. Like, he has to have a huge year, don't you think?
Well, unless Josi gets 100 again, or like close to he had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it's been the same story for years now. It's like, Philip Forsberg's going to be the leading scorer on this team. He's going to have 60 points. And it's like, that's Nashville.
Yeah.
Now, don't quote me on saying Forsberg's going to have 60 points this year. I think he'll have more than that. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, like, the last few years, that's the way it's always been. It's like, Forsberg had 66 points this year. He led the team in scoring for forwards by 20.
Yeah. And Roman Josi had 25 more than him.
Yeah. Now, there's that outlier season 2 years ago where Duchesne was sick again. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right. So Winnipeg at 4, Nashville at 5. And Case, I know you don't like it, but that's what we got to go with. So
the way it
anyway.
is.